Great job, guys. Awesome. If you have gotten to this point, well done. So make sure you have your snapshot, because at this point, any mistake you make, you can revert back to that snapshot. But if you make a mistake at this point and you don't have your snapshot, it means you have to go all the way back to the beginning. I remember earlier I told you we're going to configure something on SSH to make sure we can remotely access the system. So we're going to also do that here, and so many learning points, that you could take onto a real world environment, and very useful skills you're going to be getting here. So let me quickly log in. Let's see. Put in my password. I was putting the wrong one before. Okay, this is the correct one. Now I am in. So I would go ahead to open up my terminal. So my terminal is up. So I'm going to share with you guys some commands. You would see it on the description on this video, a link to a GitHub repository that contains the commands that you require to get this cluster up and running. So this is it. I'm going to work on this a little bit, touch it up, make sure it's properly formatted, and I'll send it to you guys. But if you notice, I cannot paste here. Even when I copied from my Visual Studio Code, I was unable to paste here. So there are some other things you need to do on VirtualBox to allow you to paste. But even at that, I do not want to work that way. I want to work from one page, right? So that you can see me as I copy the commands and as I run them. So I'll prefer to work from my Visual Studio Code. I've opened up a terminal here, and I want to check now if SSH is installed. So let's do a quick test to see if SSH is installed. That's just type in SSH and then press the enter button. This will let you know if SSH is installed. Now, if it's not installed, there are steps you can follow to have SSH installed on your local machine. If you're using a Linux box, by default you should have SSH. Even on Windows, by default you should have SSH. But in some rare cases, there might not be SSH, so you could also get that model and set that up. Okay, so about 90% of the people watching my videos already have SSH installed, so I won't be going through how to set that up here. Well, I did actually go through it when we worked on setting up the Ubuntu, so that's also covered in a way. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna review some of the network settings to make sure everything is fine. We have 50.4 here as our IP address, and this is the IP address we're meant to use to connect to the virtual machine. So let's quickly power this off and let's go and look at our network settings. So I'm going to go over to File, Tools, then Network Manager. So here I'm going to look at my rule. So we created this rule before, so we're going to review this rule now to see what exactly is wrong here. So I'm going to go to default port 22, which means I will not need to put a port number anymore, because that's the default SSH port, right? So let's see, I think we're good to go. I'm going to apply this and we'll try another test. Okay, so let's see if this fixes our issue. So with this feature, you have to play around with it a little bit, but you definitely come around to getting it. Okay, so don't be too bothered if it's not working yet. So let's do a quick SSH and let's see. So I'm going to remove the port number, the 2222. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to do a regular SSH. But before I do that, I need to power up my VM. So sometimes when you're trying an SSH and it's not coming up, sometimes your VM is powered down, right? So your VM has to be up before you can reach it, before you can SSH to it. Okay, so that still looks like it's having some issues running. So we're going to try one more thing. So if you're trying the IP address and it's not going, you can also try using the local host, which I'm going to try now, because apparently is not seeing the IP address. So I think I have to probably define it on my own PC for it to see it. Okay, so we're good now with localhost. So I'm going to give it a yes here. And we should be in, okay, it's asking me for my password. I'm going to give it my password, and we should land in CP1C1. Okay, great. We are in CP1C1. Now we are ready to roll. So everything looks good. I think we're in a good shape. Let me log into my VBox. Log into my VBox and let me just check it to make sure everything is okay, everything is good. Let me bring this into the screen a little bit so you guys can fully appreciate what we are doing here. So I'm in my VirtualBox now. I'm just going to go to my terminal and I'm going to cat my etc hosts. I should have everything there, but it's important to confirm. So I have my 10.4.5, 4.6, 4.7. Everything looks good here. Everything seems to be in good shape. So it's important to regularly check these things, right, before you begin this part, because if you don't have this here, it means these virtual machines will not be able to use the host only network that you created for node communication. Because we have two networks here. For internet communication, we have the NAT network, and for node communication, for internal communication, we have the node network. Next up, we're going to restart this VM from the virtual machine, and you can see that it's going to alert me that I have a remote host. That's fine. I'm just going to power it off just to do a power cycle. Sometimes to test out what you have done, it's important to do a power cycle. I'm going to also start it in a headless start. This means that it's not going to pop up that the console box. It's just going to start within the VirtualBox itself, which is fine, which is what I'm hoping for, which is what I want, because I want to minimize the amount of RAM I'm using, so you don't have to show me that large display. Keep everything within VirtualBox. I am now going to access it using my terminal of choice. For me, I prefer Visual Studio Code because it allows me to have my commands up top and to have my terminal below, which is almost like me having, it makes it really easy, and you can see the commands, and I can also work on editing the notes above, because I'm going to be sharing that with you on Git, so you guys can pull that repository and then have those commands with you, so you don't have to type, start squinting your eyes to know what commands is it typing. I'm providing everything for you to make this as seamless as possible for you to set up, because the goal is to make it seamless. The goal is to make it seamless. A lot of times people want to set up a cluster, but the resource to do it is not made readily available, and it's a whole lot of struggle. So we've done a couple of things here so far. We've downloaded our VirtualBox. This is done. So I just want to highlight a couple of things that we've completed. We've installed it. We've downloaded our image. We've also set up the VM. I didn't even put that here. Okay, let me add that in. So we have also set up our virtual machine. So that's completed. On VirtualBox networking, which is what we also did, is also completed. We've also taken snapshots, which is critical. I've told you the importance of snapshots. I've stressed it up here, and it's crucial for an administrator. There are other areas that are important, like having backups. Those are also very important. But for this project, I think a snapshot is enough backup for you. I wouldn't say take a backup of the VM and store it on. No, there's no need for all that. Snapshot is fine. Okay. But in the real world, you should also think of VM backup and things like that that could help protect you in case there is a disaster.